Pain as a sacred crucible. Deep within the soul lies a crucible, a sacred forge where the fires of suffering burn with divine purpose, transforming the raw material of pain into the radiant gold of wisdom, guiding us toward a profound and eternal awakening. Pain, though cloaked in the heavy veils of sorrow, fear or loss arrives not as a merciless curse, but as a silent teacher, bearing the hidden gift of insight that stirs the heart to seek the truth beyond the shadows. In this sacred exploration on Heaven's Cipher, we embark on a mystical journey to decode the enigma of suffering, unveiling its role as a luminous pathway to heaven. Not a distant realm woven of clouds and starlight, but a state of consciousness, vibrant, eternal, and ever-present within the depths of the human spirit. Like a lone figure wandering through a sepia-toned forest at twilight, holding a flickering lantern that casts a golden glow across ancient trees and swirling mist, we step into the darkness with courage, trusting that each pang of pain carries a lesson, each tear a spark of divine revelation. This alchemy of the soul reveals that suffering, when embraced with an open heart, becomes a sacred invitation to shed the illusions of separation, to awaken the dormant love that binds all things, and to uncover the divine light that pulses within us, all eternal and unbroken. The crucible of pain is no mere trial, it is a holy vessel, where the ego's fragile walls crumble, where the soul's raw edges are refined, and where the truth of our unity with the divine emerges radiant and unshakable. As we stand at the threshold of this mystery, we see that heaven is not a place to be reached, but a truth to be remembered, a frequency of love and clarity that resonates within, waiting to be unveiled through the transformative fire of suffering, drawing us ever closer to the eternal now, where the divine shines in every breath, every heartbeat, every moment of surrender. The mystical perspective on pain. Across the ages, mystics have gazed unflinchingly into the heart of pain, beholding not a foe to be vanquished or a shadow to be shunned, but a sacred forge kindled by divine intent, where the soul is sculpted into a vessel worthy of union with the eternal. Rumi, the Sufi poet whose words dance like flames in the wind, proclaimed that the wound is the place where light enters each ache, a delicate fissure in the ego's brittle armor, through which divine love pours like a radiant river, flooding the heart with whispers of eternity that awaken its hidden depths. In the Christian tradition, St. John of the Cross, cloaked in the silence of a dimly lit cell, spoke of the dark night of the soul, a passage both harrowing and holy, where the fires of suffering consume the veils of illusion, revealing the luminous presence of God in a silent, transformative embrace that speaks of truth beyond words. The alchemists, those ancient seekers of transmutation, mirrored this wisdom in their cryptic symbols and glowing furnaces, teaching that just as lead yields to gold under relentless heat, so too does pain, when met with reverence and surrender, become wisdom, not as punishment, but as preparation for a higher state of being. These visionaries from distant lands and varied tongues understood suffering as a purifying flame, a sacred crucible where the soul's raw essence is refined until it resonates with the frequency of heaven, a state of consciousness where separation dissolves and the eternal light of truth shines unbroken, eternal, and ever-present. In visions painted with the warm sepia tones of a Renaissance canvas, we see Rumi's ecstatic dance, his robe swirling like a cascade of light, weaving patterns of divine love across a starlit desert, or St. John's solitary cell, where a single candle casts shadows that dance with whispers of the divine, or the alchemist's laboratory, where a crucible glows with the promise of gold, its smoke curling upward to join a starry sky. Pain, these mystics teach, is a sacred call to awaken, a summons to strip away the false self, to stand bare before the divine, where the soul's light merges with the infinite, revealing a truth that transcends time and form. This perspective finds echoes in other traditions, such as the Kabbalists, who saw suffering as a shattering of vessels, a necessary breaking to release divine sparks hidden within the soul, or the Buddhists, who viewed pain as a teacher of impermanence, guiding the heart toward nirvana's boundless peace. Each tradition, though cloaked in its own language, converges on a singular truth. Pain is not an end, but a beginning, a doorway through which the soul steps closer to its divine origin, shedding the weight of ego to embrace the unity that lies at the heart of existence. In the sepia-toned tapestry of these teachings, we see the soul as a pilgrim, wandering through the shadows of suffering, guided by an inner light that flickers like a lantern in a twilight forest, illuminating the path to heaven's gate. This gate is not forged of pearl or gold, but of consciousness, a state where the heart perceives its oneness with all things, where love becomes the lens through which the world is seen radiant and eternal. The mystics invite us to reframe pain, to see its sting not as cruelty, but as a sacred chisel, carving away the superfluous to reveal the divine sculpture within a truth that shines with the clarity of a star in a velvet sky. Suffering, they whisper, is a sacred alchemy, a process of refinement that burns away the dross of fear, pride, and separation, leaving only the pure gold of wisdom, compassion, and unity. As we stand before this truth, we are called to listen to pain's silent lessons, to trust its fire, to let it guide us through the shadows, to a place where the soul sings in harmony with the divine, where heaven is not a distant dream, but a reality woven into the fabric of our being. In the Renaissance glow of a candlelit scene, where symbols of transformation etch themselves into the air, we see the eternal dance of light and shadow, of pain and awakening, a dance that leads us to the heart of heaven's cipher, where the soul's deepest truths are decoded and the divine light within shines forever, calling us home to the eternal now. The process of alchemical transformation. To alchemize pain into wisdom, we must embrace it with courage, cradle it with gentleness, and surrender to its quiet lessons, forging a sacred bridge to the heaven within, where the soul awakens to its divine essence in a radiant dance of transformation. Alchemy is not a flight from suffering, but a sacred transmutation, a process of listening to the heart's silent whispers, where grief speaks of love lost and lessons gained, and fear beckons the soul to trust beyond the shadows of the known. The inner alchemist, standing at the crucible of the self, sees pain not as an end, but as a beginning, a clarion call that stirs the soul to awaken, to peel away the veils of illusion that shroud the truth. When we cease resisting and begin understanding, suffering becomes a luminous thread weaving wisdom through the tapestry of the heart, guiding us to a state of consciousness where the ego's fragile walls crumble and the divine light within shines eternal. In a sepia-toned Renaissance laboratory, we envision a glowing crucible, its dark smoke curling upward, transforming into golden light that pulses with divine promise, or a solitary figure meditating in a temple, their silhouette radiating ripples of energy that merge with the starry sky beyond. This process, taught by mystics across ages, requires us to face pain with unwavering bravery, to hold its weight without recoil, to let its lessons unfold like petals of a sacred rose, revealing the truth of our unity with the divine. The Sufis, with their whirling dances, saw suffering as a rhythm that aligns the soul with the cosmic pulse, while the Taoists taught that pain, like water, flows to carve a path toward harmony softening the heart's edges. Each pang of grief, each tremor of fear is a note in the soul's symphony, a call to surrender, not to despair, but to love, to trust in the divine current that flows through all things. This alchemy is a journey of purification where the soul, like molten metal, is refined in the fire of suffering, shedding pride, fear, and separation to reveal the radiant core within. As we embrace this process, we discover that heaven is not a distant shore, but a state of consciousness woven into the fabric of our being, accessible through the heart's quiet surrender to truth. The inner alchemist learns to listen to pain's subtle teachings, to see grief as a mirror reflecting love's eternal presence, to hear fear as a guide urging courage beyond the known. In this sacred work, the soul becomes a vessel polished by suffering's flame, ready to hold the light of divine wisdom. Picture a Renaissance garden bathed in sepia tones where a figure stands beneath a canopy of stars, their hands outstretched to catch the golden light that pours from a celestial rose. Each petal a lesson learned through pain's gentle tutelage. This transformation is not a solitary endeavor, but a universal dance, echoed in the teachings of the Gnostics, who saw suffering as a spark igniting the soul's return to the divine pleroma, or the Advaita Vedantists, who viewed pain as an illusion to be transcended, revealing the self's oneness with Brahman. Every tradition, though varied in its language, converges on this truth. Pain is a sacred crucible, a forge where the soul is tempered, where the dross of ego burns away and the gold of wisdom emerges radiant and eternal. As we walk this path, we learn to trust the fire, to let it burn without fear, to see each moment of suffering as a step toward awakening, a bridge to the heaven within. This state of consciousness, luminous and boundless, is not earned through struggle but uncovered through surrender, a letting go that allows the soul to resonate with the divine frequency of love, unity, and truth. In the quiet of this alchemy, we find that pain is not our enemy, but our guide, leading us through the shadows to a place where the heart sings in harmony with the infinite, where the soul's light merges with the eternal now, and where heaven, radiant and ever-present, shines within us all, waiting to be unveiled through the sacred fire of transformation. Practical steps to transmute pain. In the sacred alchemy of the soul, the mystics offer us keys, simple yet profound practices that transmute the raw weight of pain into the radiant peace of wisdom, aligning our hearts with the luminous frequency of heaven, where divine truth shines eternal. Journaling, the first key, invites us to pour our sorrow, fear, or grief onto the page without judgment, letting words flow like a river through a sepia-toned meadow. Each stroke of the pen a release of the heart's burdens, as a solitary figure writes by candlelight in a Renaissance chamber, their script glowing faintly with the promise of insight. By asking, "What lesson do you carry?" and waiting for the answer, whether it comes as a whisper or a quiet feeling, we uncover truths hidden within pain, transforming its weight into clarity, a step toward the heaven within, where love speaks louder than loss. Meditation. The second key calls us to sit in stillness, to breathe deeply into the ache, to envision it as a dark cloud softening into golden light, as a figure in a sepia-toned temple closes their eyes, their silhouette radiating ripples that merge with a starry sky, echoing Rumi's teaching that suffering is a doorway to divine love. This practice, rooted in the silence of the mystics, allows pain to unfold its lessons, revealing peace beneath the storm, aligning the soul with a state of consciousness where unity reigns. Gratitude. The third key acts as a potent elixir, urging us to seek one small spark of beauty, perhaps the blush of a sunrise, the warmth of a kind word, or the steady rhythm of breath, and to hold it in the heart, saying, "I am thankful," as a figure wanders through a glowing forest, their smile reflecting the light of hope. This act, simple yet transformative, shifts the soul from despair to love, a practice cherished by Christian contemplatives who saw gratitude as a lens for divine grace. These keys, not cures but sacred tools, unlock a higher state of consciousness, where pain becomes a bridge to the heaven within a realm of eternal truth and radiant peace. In the sepia glow of a Renaissance garden, we see a figure kneeling before a blooming rose, each petal a lesson learned through pain's gentle guidance, their hands catching golden light that pours from the heavens. The mystics, from Sufi poets to Buddhist sages, teach that these practices are acts of surrender, not to suffering, but to the divine current that flows through it, guiding the soul toward awakening. Journaling, as the Kabbalists might say, is a mapping of the soul's sparks, collecting divine fragments scattered by pain, while meditation in the Taoist view is a return to the still center, where pain's ripples dissolve into harmony. Gratitude, echoed in Hindu bhakti traditions, is a song of devotion, lifting the heart to the divine even in sorrow's shadow. Each practice, though simple, is a thread in the soul's tapestry, weaving pain into wisdom, fear into trust, and grief into love. As we engage these keys, we become alchemists, standing before the crucible of our own hearts, watching dark smoke rise and transform into light, a process that mirrors the eternal dance of creation, where chaos yields to order and pain to peace. This alchemy requires patience, a willingness to sit with pain's lessons, to trust its fire, to see each moment of suffering as a brushstroke in the divine portrait of the soul. In the quiet of a candlelit chamber or the stillness of a forest. At dawn, we find that these practices are not mere rituals, but sacred conversations, dialogues between the soul and the divine, where pain speaks and wisdom answers. The heaven within luminous and boundless is not a destination, but a state of being unveiled through the gentle work of journaling, the silent embrace of meditation, and the radiant choice of gratitude. As we walk this path, we learn that pain is not our adversary but our guide, leading us through the shadows to a place where the heart sings in harmony with the infinite, where the soul's light merges with the eternal now, and where heaven ever-present shines within us, all waiting to be uncovered through the sacred keys of transformation. The alchemist within. Pain heralds not the end, but the dawn of a sacred journey, where you, the alchemist within, wield the power to forge radiant wisdom from the raw ore of suffering, unveiling the heaven that shines eternal in the heart's quiet depths, a luminous state of consciousness woven into the soul's very essence. In the crucible of pain, the soul is refined, its illusions consumed in a holy fire, revealing a truth as enduring as the stars, that heaven is not a distant realm, but a radiant reality ever-present, waiting to be uncovered through the sacred work of transformation. You stand as the alchemist, your wounds the raw material, your heart the forge, each pang of grief or tremor of fear, a spark that kindles the gold of love, compassion, and awakening, as a figure in a sepia-toned meadow cradles a glowing orb, its light pulsing with divine promise under a canopy of Renaissance stars. This journey taught by mystics across time is not one of struggle but of surrender, a letting go that allows the soul to resonate with the divine frequency, where pain becomes a teacher, guiding you through shadows to a place of eternal light. The Sufis, with their ecstatic poetry, saw the alchemist as a lover, transmuting sorrow into divine union, while the Christian mystics like Julian of Norwich found in suffering a revelation of divine love, proclaiming that all shall be well in the embrace of the eternal. The alchemists of old, with their furnaces and cryptic tomes, knew that transformation requires patience, a willingness to trust the fire, to let pain's lessons unfold like a rose in a sepia-toned garden, each petal a truth unveiled. As you walk this path, you learn to see grief as a mirror of love's eternal presence, fear as a call to courage, and loss as a doorway to wisdom, each moment of suffering a brushstroke in the divine portrait of your soul. Picture a Renaissance chamber where a figure stands before a glowing crucible, their hands outstretched to catch the golden light that pours from the heavens, their eyes reflecting a starry sky that speaks of unity and peace. This alchemy is universal, echoed in the Buddhist teaching that suffering is a lotus blooming in the mud, or the Hindu Upanishads, which see pain as a veil to be lifted, revealing the self's oneness with the divine. Every tradition, though varied in its voice, sings of the alchemist within, the one who transforms pain's weight into wings soaring to the heaven within, where separation dissolves and truth shines unbroken. This journey requires courage to face pain without recoil, to hold its lessons with gentleness, to trust that each wound is a portal to divine light as a figure wanders through a sepia-toned forest. At twilight, their lantern casting a glow that merges with the stars above. The alchemist within is not a distant sage, but you, the seeker, standing at the heart of your own crucible, forging wisdom from the fires of life. Each step a testament to the soul's resilience, each tear a pearl of divine truth. As you embrace this sacred work, you discover that heaven is not earned but remembered, a state of consciousness that pulses in every breath, every heartbeat, every moment of surrender to love's eternal flow. Share your story, dear alchemist, for what gold have you forged from your pain? Let us decode this cipher together, as heaven's cipher calls you to subscribe, to join this journey of awakening, where the soul's light merges with the infinite and the heaven within shines forever. In the quiet of a Renaissance meadow where the air hums with divine whispers, we see that pain is not our adversary, but our guide, leading us through the shadows to a place where the heart sings in harmony with the eternal now, where every wound becomes a star, and every star a beacon illuminating the truth that heaven radiant and boundless resides within us all, waiting to be unveiled through the sacred alchemy of the soul.